So, Dr. Lippman, I know we were talking about my journey and how I got here, and one of the reasons that I'm really passionate about health and wellness myself is that I have hypothyroidism and it's in my family. And the more research I do, the more I realize it's connected to your gut and what we eat and our lifestyle and that sort of thing. And that kind of brought me to you and here. And thanks for having me. But I thought maybe you could tell my audience a little bit about you and what you do. And
Thanks for having me. And I'm Dr. Frank Lipman. I qualified as a physician in 1979, so it's almost 40 years ago in South Africa. And soon after I finished my training, I realized the deficiencies of Western medicine. So, Western medicine is wonderful at crisis care. If you break a bone, if you have a heart attack, if you need your appendix taken out, if you have pneumonia, Western medicine is wonderful. For chronic diseases, and if you can't poop and you've got a headache and you're tired and you're stressed out, Western medicine isn't particularly helpful because our tools are drugs or surgery. So I realized early on, in the early 80s, that there was something lacking in my training. And in those days, there was no wellness movement. I was, as I say, I've gone from quack to guru. In those days, people thought I was crazy, but I knew there was more to helping people. And I was lucky enough to be exposed to traditional healers in Africa, and I saw that they helped some people. And I was lucky enough to be exposed to some homeopaths, some alternative practitioners. I started exploring with acupuncture and studying acupuncture in the early 80s. And that's led me on a whole journey of studying Chinese medicine, and then I got into yoga and meditation and nutrition. And now I practice this blending this Eastern and Western medicine and sort of what we call functional medicine now, for lack of another term. So instead of just giving you a drug to suppress the symptoms, we look for the underlying cause. So if you're driving your car and the oil light goes on, from my world, we don't just put a Band-Aid over the oil light, we see why the oil light went on.
I think it's such a balance, and it's so important to be balanced between Eastern and Western, and I love treating the root of it, and I think that's so important, and I think that's really addressed in your book, which I love so much, and I think it's so interesting and
great book, guys.
Great book.
Really good book.
Yes, it's called How to Be Well, and it's so it's a wonderful user-friendly book on how to live your life, and it's very simply, and I don't mean to dumb it down, it's just very simply put.
For many years, I was trying to understand Chinese medicine, or put my Chinese medicine into a Western perspective. So when you start studying Chinese medicine, you start wondering, well, what's energy, and what's qi, and what are the meridians? So I was always trying to work out what the Chinese were talking about from a Western perspective, because it's the same body. And for many years I was doing that. With this book, I took my understanding or my studying of the Eastern traditions, and then I put my Western knowledge into that. So I created a mandala with you, the patient, in the middle, not the doctor, not any other authority, but you, because you know more about your body than anyone else. So I put you, the patient or the reader, in the middle of the mandala, surrounded by these 6 rings of how to eat, how to sleep, how to move, how to protect oneself from all the chemicals out there, how to unwind and relax, and how to connect. So within those principles, I put about 100 tips. All of them fit into what I think are the basic principles of how to lead a happy and healthy life. The first ring is eat, because that's the most material. That's the most, the easiest way for people to relate to their health. They don't realize how important sleep may be, or being in community may be, or being kind to others. But people know that what's important is how they eat. And there's a wonderful quote that I have in the book by Wendell Berry, who's an American.
I love that quote.
An American philosopher, who says, "We are fed by the food industry that pays no attention to our health, and treated by the health industry that pays no attention to our food."
It's so powerful.
Very
statement.
powerful and very true. So the eat section is really these tips on how to create a way of eating. It's not a diet, because there's no one right diet for everyone. It's how do you create a way of eating that's going to work for your body. And for the most part, it's eating as close to nature as possible. So for instance, we have this, or not so much your generation, but my generation are petrified of fats. This whole low-fat nonsense has permeated the culture for so many years. And it's not that fat is bad for you. Now, my philosophy on fats are that fats made by God are more than likely healthy, and fats made by man are more than likely not. So it's not that saturated fats are bad. So think of something, fats made in a factory are probably not what you should be eating, but fats in nature like avocado, coconut oil, olive oil, meat from grass-fed cows, organic pasture-raised eggs. These are all healthy fats. So don't be scared of food. A lot of my tips are common sense. This is, people in their gut know a lot of these things, but we've been brainwashed by the system, by dietitians, by doctors, to count calories, to count fat, to
be afraid.
To be afraid. It's crazy. Just enjoy your food, but be smart about it.
I think that's what's so great, especially about the millennials now, is that it's that movement to really trust yourself and put yourself at the center. In all things in general, but also especially with health too, I'm finding, which, trust your body.
What I love about millennials is they are listening to their bodies. They are looking for what's happening. My generation just listen to their doctors. They think their doctors know everything about their health, and they just listen to them. The millennials are trying to see what's going on, and they know that the system's not working for them, which I love. So they're questioning it, and they want authentic products, and they want they want to know where their food came from. They want real food, and it's fantastic. I know a lot of people in my generation bitch about the millennials. I love the millennials. I love what they do. I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
So, eat is the first part of the steps.
Yeah.
What comes after that?
Eat is the most material people can relate to. The next step I put as sleep, and there are many tips on sleep in there, because sleep is crucial to your health. Most people think that they don't need to sleep, or nothing's happening during sleep. But there's key functioning going on in your body during sleep. Have you ever heard of the glymphatic system? Mm-hmm. So the glymphatic system, folks, is like a cleaning crew that comes in at night and only when you sleep, and cleans out all the garbage in your brain that collects during the day. Now, if you don't sleep, then they collect. It's sort of like having a party, and in the morning there's a huge mess around, and you don't clean it up, and the next night you have another party and the mess gets bigger, the next night another party, and the mess just increases and increases. So if you don't sleep, you don't take away all that garbage and that mess, and over time that can affect your brain functioning, and probably including leading to Alzheimer's disease and all sorts of problems. So sleep is crucial to your health. There was just a study that came out in the last couple of days that shows that keeping some sort of rhythm of, in other words, trying to go to sleep at the same time every night and waking up at the same time in the morning, keeping that rhythm is really good for your mind. They found that people who didn't have that rhythm were more prone to get mood disorders over time.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I find that I'm a lot more anxious when I don't get good amount of sleep.
And then there's move. So I call it move rather than exercise, because once again, exercise for some people can be intimidating. It's really about moving your body. You can be dancing around your living room, you can be walking to work, whatever it is, you need to move your body. It's less important to have to go to the gym than to move your body. For instance, if you go to the gym and then you sit all day in a chair, you've probably lost all the effects of going to the gym in the morning. So you've counteracted all of those effects by just sitting all day. So moving your body is really important. It's just one of those tips that anyone can do anytime, and people should take it seriously. And once again, you don't have to go to the gym. Just move your body.
Mm-hmm. I also find that moving, and you mentioned that it helps sleep. For me, I know that I need a good workout because it helps clear whatever junk, whatever is going on in my brain and my mind.
When we talk about protect, what people don't realize is a lot of the chemicals in our food and in the water actually have hormonal effects. So it's affecting fertility, which, infertility has become a huge problem. Now, I'm not saying it's only because of the chemicals, but when there's so many chemicals in the food, in the water, in the air, those chemicals can either inhibit certain hormones or actually activate certain hormones. So these hormonal effects obviously are affecting the human fertility. We know it's affecting amphibians, and we see the effects of fish and frogs.
All the frogs.
Yeah, but it's obviously affecting human fertility as well. So not to say it's just the chemicals, but all these things add up.
And I'm not a doctor, but it just seems kind of crazy that so many people are undergoing fertility issues or health issues, and it can't just be because there are too many people and it's a coincidence. It has to be because it's coming from somewhere.
Absolutely. They tested water from a number of places, and they found that what we thought was too low to cause a problem was wrong. So now they know, and the EPA now, with the Trump administration, blocked that study. They didn't let it be published because, it's telling people that even the amount of chemicals that we thought were safe are not safe. So it's crazy. You can't you have to trust yourself. You cannot trust the system. So unwind is really ways to calm down the nervous system. To me, and that can be with yoga, that can be with breathing, that can be with taking walks in nature, that can be with laughing. I'm such a big fan of meditation. I've seen what it's done for me personally, seen what it's done for my patients, and it's something you do by yourself. What I love about most of the tips in this book, these are tools that you can take on yourself and feel empowered. When you are less reactive and you're able to cope with life in a way that it just makes life so much easier.
And then the next part is connect.
Yeah.
And is that connecting with other people? And
yeah, it's connecting with yourself, connecting with other people, and connecting with the earth at large. So connect is one of those aspects that we've forgotten about in our culture too. How many people sit around a table with their family these days? It's crazy. It's connecting with the earth. How many people go for walks in nature? I mean, it's so healing to go for a walk in the forest or on the beach. Everyone knows how much better they feel when they go for a walk on the beach or in the forest. So connecting is all the above. But very, very important to connect to yourself, to become aware of yourself. So I think forgiving is a way of connecting, because when you forgive someone, you actually probably get more out of it than the person you're forgiving. One of the tips is get a pet. Having a pet is, for people who aren't allergic, having a dog or a cat, I'm a dog person, but is incredibly healing. So there's so many ways to connect. And so this is the point of the book, that don't forget about these simple things, because there's so many simple things you can do which are going to make you feel better.
That's what I find so great about it, because these simple things we take for granted and then think, oh, this is just part of what we do every day, and in addition I have to do all these other things. I just feel that your book is so important to read right now, because it's the blueprints, as you say, and it's the simple things that we all forget about because we're all on our phones. I know myself, I'm on mine all the time, and it's so important to disconnect and have that be a time and a place, and really get back to nature.
And also realize that there's so many things you can adjust. They're little tweaks to your life that can make a huge difference to your health.
Yeah, I agree. And thank you so much for writing this.
And thank you for talking about it.
Yeah. Thank you.